Both the Microsoft Surface Pro 4 and the HP Elite X2 1012 offer power and style in a hybrid portable design. It's clear that they both have taken some inspiration from each other in terms of design, but let's see how they perform against each other. So without further ado, here is my Surface Pro 4 versus the HP Elite X2 1012 comparison. So starting with design, they both look very similar, with silver as the main colour and a mirrored logo on the back. I feel that HP is definitely designed slightly more towards the business user than the average consumer, thanks to the built-in capabilities like a fingerprint scanner on the back. I believe there is a type cover for the Surface that has a fingerprint scanner, but the fact that it's built into the tablet on the HP makes this one stand out for functionality. Another thing to note about the design is the fact that HP have screws underneath the kickstand, so that if it breaks for any reason, technicians can easily access it, whereas the Surface doesn't have screws, so it would be a lot trickier. When both devices are connected to their keyboards, they are roughly the same thickness. In fact, the HP is just 0.04 inches thicker than the Surface. The one thing I have to mention that was the first thing I noticed when comparing them is definitely the weight difference between the two. On paper there isn't that much difference, as the HP weighs just 2.72 pounds and the Surface weighs only 2.37 pounds, but when I put them both up I could instantly tell which one I would prefer to have in my bag all day with me, so the Surface definitely gets my vote for portability. Both kickstands are some of the best on the market today, with the ability to transform the tablet into any angle that you need. Both are really sturdy and don't flex at all, and you need to use some pressure to move it, which is definitely a good thing. The HP has a clicking magnetic mechanism when shutting it, which I think is a nice touch, something that would have been nice to see on the Surface. However, in terms of ease of use, the Surface wins for me, purely due to the latches being that extra bit bigger so you can open it easily. In terms of ports, the Surface has a USB 3.0, mini DisplayPort, a microSD card slot and a headphone jack, whereas the HP has a USB-C port, microSD card slot, a USB 3.0 port, a headphone jack, SIM card slot for 4G capabilities and a lock slot. The SIM card slot really sets this one aside from the Surface, as this is perfect for business use, so the HP definitely wins for me in terms of ports and capabilities. They both have front and rear cameras, however the Surface has an infrared camera for Windows Hello, which is definitely a fantastic feature of Windows 10. They're both running Windows 10, which works fantastic on the devices. This Surface is running an Intel Core i5 processor with 8GB of RAM, whereas this HP is running an Intel Core M5 processor with 8GB of RAM. I do notice a difference between the two, as the Surface performed a little bit faster than the HP, but due to the M5 processor, the HP makes up for it in battery life. But that's not to say that the HP is slow by any means. They're both great performers for any use. You could probably get away with software such as Photoshop, but any heavy video editing or CAD software, you may be better off upgrading to a higher end spec. Speaking of battery life, the Surface gets up to 5 hours of use regularly, with brightness at around 60%, which is probably its biggest downside. This is where the HP excels, as you can get up to 9 hours of use. The display on the HP is only Full HD, which still looks nice, but for the price it definitely should be a bit better. Having said that, the display on the Surface looks fantastic, and everything is sharp and crisp. You can see by putting them side by side, the Surface definitely outshines HP for display. The Surface's type cover is much nicer material than HP's, despite it being the same microfiber. For some reason to me, the suede-like feel of the Surface feels so much more premium than the HP's keyboard, that feels quite flimsy and rough in comparison. Both keyboards are backlit, which is always great to see in a portable keyboard case, as it's quite rare. One thing to note is that the Surface keyboard does flex a little when typing due to its raised design, which would also be a problem for the HP if it wasn't for the metal keyboard. Despite it being raised like the Surface, the keyboard on the HP is super sturdy and hardly flexes at all, which I think is a great design quality. There's slightly more key travel on the HP, but both keyboards feel really nice to type on nonetheless. The trackpads are similar size and have a great click to them, so there's no complaints at all about their trackpads. Both connect through magnets and have the exact same mechanism, and are both as responsive as each other. However, the one thing that sets the HP apart from the Surface is definitely the fact that there are extra options for keyboards, like the travel keyboard and the advanced keyboard. The advanced keyboard has NFC built in and also a smart card reader, which is a great option for business users. We also have the two pens here to compare. HP's advanced pen comes with the tablet itself. It has a button on the top that launches OneNote and buttons down the side for capabilities within OneNote. This adds up as an eraser and a crop tool, which is useful, but I feel like they could have made better use for the buttons, as I won't need to crop things that often. The one downside about this pen is that there isn't a way to keep the pen with the tablet. For me, an integrated pen or a magnetic pen would have been much better, just because of how much you pay for a device like this. However, this issue is resolved in the Surface, as the pen is magnetic and it fits securely to the side of the tablet for easy access. This pen has basically the exact same design as the HP Active pen, but with the touch of the button you can launch OneNote, take a screenshot and activate Cortana, which I feel like are much better functions than the HP pen. Having said that, the Surface Pen isn't included, so you're going to have to put aside a bit more money for that. I tested the performance of the pens through OneNote, and the Surface Pen copied the exact movements of my writing and didn't lag whatsoever, whereas the HP pen started to jump a little when first experimenting, but the more I used it, the less it lagged and performed fantastic, so I have no complaints. Both of these devices are serious competitors as they look so similar and perform so well. The Surface Pro 4 is currently available from anywhere from £700 to £1,800, whereas the HP Elite X2 1012 is available anywhere from £700 to £1,400, so they're both at similar price points. If display, design and speed are your main priorities when looking for a 2-in-1, the Surface is definitely the way to go. Although if you prefer a long battery life and a great quality keyboard, the HP is the one for you. Although it doesn't have the highest level configurations of a Surface Pro 4, the Elite X2 1012 is an attractive and affordable hybrid capable of excelling for business users. So that's all for my comparison of the Microsoft Surface Pro 4 and the HP Elite X2 1012. Let us know in the comments below which one you prefer, and don't forget to subscribe if you enjoyed. Thank you!